you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, and I can hear you. Oh my gosh. Okay, good morning. It is 2 minutes past 10, and you're very welcome to a first in a series of webinars that Codec are delighted to be bringing you. And these webinars are based around customer experience. And when we talk about customer experience, that really means the full gambit of customer interactions, from sales to marketing back into service. Okay, just prior to starting, I just want to flag that this is a recorded event. If you are watching and recording, it's worth noting that this webinar is on, or was on, Thursday 22nd of October, and that is the first day of the second national lockdown related to trying to flatten the curve for COVID. So to everybody who's attending this webinar, we the Royal We of Codec wish you all the best. Hope you're staying safe, and obviously our thoughts are with everybody who's impacted, be it directly or indirectly, by the COVID experience. Today, from the Codec team, we have two people representing us. Myself, Seamus Flanagan, I am a commercial account manager, and then I am joined by the immensely capable and supreme expert in all things Dynamics 365, John McCormick. Do you want to say hi, John?
Hi guys, how's things? Delighted to be able to get the opportunity to talk to you today. And we're going to bring you through some nice examples and walkthroughs of how the Power Apps portal can improve your customers and also your employees' experiences while working at home through this difficult time. So I'll be delighted to show you guys what I have prepared. Thanks, Seamus.
No worries, thank you. So as briefly mentioned there by John, we are focused today on chatbots, but just prior to going through that, I just want to talk a little bit about the company that John and I work for. It's Codec, and Codec are a full stack Microsoft partner. When we talk about full stack, that is obviously business applications, which is what John and I are part of. When Microsoft talks about business application, that is ERP, which is back office, financials, and similar, and then CE, which is customer experience, which is particularly the area of specialization for John and I. Codec is nearly 4 decades in business. We have had significant experience doing small and large projects across a variety of customers based in Ireland and UK. We do indeed have offices in Dublin, it's our HQ, but we have offices as well, Belfast, London, and in mainland Europe. Hopefully from this quick screen grab of existing clients and customer references, you will see we have a broad sector experience, FS, utilities, aviation, and these projects can be anything from a mix of full digital transformations to Azure projects, on-premise migrations to the cloud, a variety of mix. So as I say, we have a wealth of experience and knowledge that we bring to bear on our programs and our projects that we deploy and work with our customer base upon. Okay, so just moving along to the topic at hand. I'm just going to give a little bit of context just to really get everybody thinking about chatbots, but also around artificial intelligence, because the particular area of function John and I will be talking about today is Power Virtual Agents, which is a lovely name, but essentially it is second generation chatbots from my perspective at least. On this particular slide, excuse me, on this particular slide, just going to show you some research outputs from Capgemini Research Institute. This was earlier this calendar year, I believe March, they published this. And really, they're just talking about the impact of chatbots on customer engagement and the realized measurable benefits for companies. So briefly, 62% of customers say they are satisfied with the chat agents they find on the company's website. 83% of consumers said they're messaging their primary means of contacting customer support channels. Excuse me. 64% of internet users or net users say that 24-hour service is the best feature of chatbots. So that really allows companies to extend well beyond their normal opening hours. Chatbots would be considered to be able to answer 80% of the standard questions or queries, be it around sales or service that customers want to ask of a company or service provider. Looking inwards a little, and we look at the measurable benefits that companies are realizing, 76% say they see benefits from chat assistants or chatbots, which have a direct increase in NPS, the Net Promoter Score. For me, the next two are probably the most significant. We can see customer wait reduction time of more than 5 minutes, and also a 20% increase in first call resolution. So, if we're looking with a normal service query resolution being approximately 50%, just with a deployment of chatbots, we could see that first call, first visit resolution moving up to 60%, which is massive impact on CSAT and resolution and efficiency in general. And then briefly, 55% of people who use chatbots expect them to provide instant responses and answers to simple questions. And this is kind of where the marketplace is at. If we look then briefly at the deployment of artificial intelligence within business, the reality is artificial intelligence is here. It is prevalent. It is used right across the business. No surprise really that you're seeing customer service and IT management being the kind of today the front runners, but right across all of the core business functions from customer service through to human resources and everything else in between, we expect a greater deployment of AI utilization. This particular set of statistics is coming from MIT Technology Review, the Global AI Agenda, and again, this was published this year, so it's particularly relevant. Now, I'm obviously not a techie, and when I start trying to explain to people some use cases around AI applications, I guess how I start off with is quite really simplifying what I understand AI to be, and that most simple explanation of AI is that it facilitates insight and actions to patterns. And when I say patterns, I mean known customer journeys, known customer queries, known business workflows. And in the previous example, we talked about 80% of standard customer queries can be answered by a chatbot, as an example. I obviously work on the sales and marketing side of the business with Kodak, and I see the utilization of AI in my core sales tools. So for example, AI will recommend a next action for me on a sales opportunity or a lead acceptance and similar, and really guide me through what the AI has learned to be best practices for progression of Kodak sales pipeline and similar. And perhaps you are a company that want to engage with your customers in a 24/7 manner. As John talks through a couple of use cases now in a second, we're really going to take you through 3 primary use cases. One is around customer queries coming in via sales. We'll look at a handover into the contact center, and then finally we will give an example of chatbots being deployed within a collaboration platform, namely a chatbot being deployed within Microsoft Teams. So that's really it for me for the moment. I will kind of jump in and out as we move along, but I'm just going to stop sharing for 1 second and hand over to John. John, is that okay for you?
Yeah, that's perfect. You can hand over when you're ready.
Okay, just let me know when you can see it.
Select my screen, and we are up and running. Can you see my screen okay, Seamus?
Yes, and you are now up and running. Great, good.
Brilliant. So, as Seamus touched upon, modern business is changing. Employee and customer expectations are shifting, both from an added value perspective. Teams want to minimize repeated tasks, and consumers want to self-service if they can. Over the last few years, chatbots have become increasingly popular as an answer to these demands, with enhancements developed along the way. Power Virtual Agent is a new technology from Microsoft that will empower anyone in your business to build a versatile, adaptable chatbot with no coding or AI expertise required. Power Virtual Agents can change and improve all areas of an organization, everything from HR to customer service, on almost any site or channel available. The Power Virtual Agents is a software as a service offering, and this means that it allows you to easily sign up, create your bot, embed it on a website or on your platform or on your channel of choice with just a few clicks. And there's no tricky infrastructure to maintain or complex systems to deploy to get yourself off the ground. You can embed a Power Virtual Agent on your company's website to engage with your customers or clients. But you can also share these chatbots or Power Virtual Agents through Microsoft Teams, Facebook Messenger, Microsoft Power Apps, and WhatsApp via Twilio. So now I'm going to select the Topics tab to show you the different types of topics that you can discuss with your chatbot. In Power Virtual Agents, topics represent the path that a customer can be taken on while interacting with a bot. You might notice here we have a few different tabs. We have system topics, which are generic conversational topics or triggers. So we have the escalation to an agent, greeting, thank yous, confirm success, failures, goodbyes, and start overs. We also have user topics, and these are the topics that we design to communicate with our individual use cases that we have for our bot. We can also use this suggested topics feature here, which I'll explain in a moment. So topics can be authored in a number of ways, by customizing provided templates from scratch, or by using the suggested topics feature like I showed you earlier. And what the suggested topics feature does is it generates topics from your own frequently asked questions page, which can be edited and used to create bots quickly. All we have to do here is insert the web link to the targeted page, and suggested topics are automatically generated. These suggested topics can then be converted into existing topics that can be used by the bot. So now bots are made much more easier. And this is an example of AI in action. So if we look at my suggested topics, I dropped in Codec's very own HTTP link for their FAQ page, and we see that there's topics removing from here. I've also transferred some topics across, like what is Dynamics 365. So what I'll do now is I'll open up this topic, and the topic that is used and the path that is followed within an individual topic is in response to the data that is entered by the customer in the conversation panel. So topics are the primary elements. Topics are the primary elements that dictate how this conversation will flow. Power Virtual Agents topics consist of two primary elements. The first is trigger phrases, which are phrases, keywords, or questions that are entered by users and can relate to specific issues. The next is a conversation node, and these conversation nodes define how the bot should respond and what it should do. As a customer enters information, the bot's AI uses natural language understanding to parse what the customer is typing and then find the most appropriate trigger phrase or node. If a user enters, for example, I would like to learn more about Dynamics 365 into your bot, a Power Virtual Agent could match parts of the text such as Dynamics, learn, or return to a topic that includes those items as a trigger phrase. So now we'll select the Go to Canvas button here, and from here is where we can design the topics conversation path. So after they've been loaded, different conversation nodes in the topic are used to control and define the path which the customer will take during the conversation. By default, when a new topic is created, a trigger phrase, which you'll see up here, a trigger phrase node and a blank message node are inserted for you automatically. So as you can imagine, a customer says something, the first thing that's going to happen is a bot's going to recognize what the customer says and then acknowledges it. So this is why these two nodes are created automatically. You can add additional nodes to a conversation path by selecting the plus icon that appears within the middle of the branch here, connecting two nodes. So we can ask a question, condition, call an action, or show a message. But I'm going to go into these actions in more detail. So a bot can be programmed to ask a question and define how a question can be answered. This might be a simple yes or no or a multiple choice answer. The bot can also be programmed to call an action. Calling an action requires calling a Power Automate flow. It's well known that bots that can chat with their users are great. Bots that can act on their behalf are even better. With Power Virtual Agents, you can easily integrate with services and backend systems out of the box, or through the hundreds of easy-to-add custom connectors using Power Automate. This makes it really simple to create a bot that not only responds to the user, but also takes action on their behalf. Maybe we want our bot to create Dynamics 365 records through interaction, to schedule a callback, which I'll show you in a moment. And one of the most important nodes we can use when developing bots is the show a message node. And this is simply, we enter what we want the bot to say in a text box. We can apply some basic formatting such as bolds, italics, and numbering, like I've done up here. And simply these messages that we type in will be relayed to the user. Each bot has the ability to trigger a node that switches the conversation path to a new topic. This node automatically has the bot move to a separate topic based on the customer's input. It is within the bot's interest to answer all the customer's questions and notify itself when it can't. And finally, the last node that we'll look at is the end conversation node. So the end conversation node, what happens here is a survey appears that asks the customer if their question was answered, or if their issue was answered or resolved correctly. This information is collected under the customer satisfaction analytics page. You can also have the customer handed over to a live agent if you're using a suitable customer service portal, such as Omnichannel for customer service. So now we will run through a simple conversation path in the test panel, which illustrates how a customer might interact with the bot to organize a callback request with Codex to learn how Dynamics 365 might improve their business processes. So, to the very start, we'll initiate the conversation with a simple hi. The bot will then reply using a predefined greeting topic and ask how it can help. The customer might enter, I would like to learn more about Dynamics 365. So like that, the customer enters their topic, and a statement triggers a predefined, triggers a predefined topic. The bot returns a message node that describes Dynamics 365. The bot then triggers a question node which asks the customer if they would like to explore the different modules of Dynamics 365. So we'll select yes. Now, I'd love for your attention to be pulled to the pathway designer on the left-hand side of the screen here. Because this path designer will show us how our bot is operating through the various stages of the customer pathway. So we're just here, and now the customer has asked to please select the module that they would like to learn about. So we have sales, customer service, marketing, F&O. We'll just go for sales for now. So when sales is triggered, we can see that the path, so that the bot will return a message to the customer describing Dynamics 365 for sales. Each of these options then after it will ask the customer if they'd like to arrange a callback with an expert. So we'll say yes. If the user selects no, an end conversation node would be triggered here, and we will wrap up the conversation. Well, as the user selected yes, the bot will ask the user for their name, email address, and phone number. And this allows us to capture contact information that can be stored within Dynamics 365 if required. So I'll simply type in Amy Black for the first, for the name. And the mobile number. Brilliant. Now that customer information has been added, the bot will now ask if we have an existing implementation of Dynamics 365 or not. And this just gives the agent that's on the other end of the phone a little bit more detail about what sort of query the customer might have. So we'll say it's a new implementation, why not? Based on the agent availability, the bot will then ask the customer if they would like to create a callback request or talk to a live agent now via the chat. I'll select callback now, and the bot will display available times for a callback. When a time is entered, an action node is called. This action node gathers the information from a chat dialog and calls Power Automate Flow to create a callback record within Dynamics 365. A message node with the dynamic content is then returned to the customer to confirm their callback booking. We ask for a review of the experience and the customer. So if the customer's question is answered, we ask for a review of their experience and interaction with the bot. And this is used to train the artificial intelligence. So we'll say, brilliant, that was a 5-star experience. Can we help with anything else? No, I'm absolutely good, thank you. Brilliant. So now the bot has triggered the end conversation node, and the conversation for now is finished. So now, Seamus, are there any questions in the inbox?
Yeah, well, actually, it's probably my bad. I should say that if you have any questions, you can add. I guess one of the points I would like to talk a little bit to you about, John, is when we're out talking to customers and they're trying to understand where and how to start a chatbot type journey, I think the best advice we could give to prospective customers of a chatbot would be to start on your front-facing website. Utilize this chatbot around customer queries, feed that content which is pre-approved, pre-altered around the product information and also your FAQ, and that's kind of a really good starting point. Would you agree with that advice, John?
I would indeed. You hit the nail on the head there.
Okay,
sure have.
Cool. Okay. Well, look, if there is any questions beyond that, just please post them into the chat, and I'll call them out as we go through it. So, John, I think you're good to keep moving on there. Thanks for that. It was great.
No problem at all. So now that we've seen how the conversation path works, we can look at how bots are deployed on various channels. The first step is to publish our bot. We can do that by selecting Publish on the sitemap. So after we publish our bot, we can then go to Configure Channels. We can enter this through this Optimize Bot widget here, or else we can go to Manage and Channels. With Power Virtual Agents, you can publish your bots to engage with your customers on multiple platforms. And I know I've mentioned this earlier, but it's really important to reinforce this fact. These include live websites, mobile apps, and messaging platforms like Microsoft Teams, Facebook Messenger, and WhatsApp. After you've published at least once, you can connect your bot to additional channels. Each time you want to update your bot, you publish it again from within the Power Virtual Agents app itself. This will update the bots across all channels where you've inserted or connected your bot. So this list of channels here are the ones that are made available through Microsoft out of the box. But knowing how Microsoft build relationships and move and develop their technology, this list will be ever growing and grow much larger and larger, just like the connectors available through Power Automate. So for the purpose of this demonstration, I've embedded the Power Virtual Agent on a Power Apps portal. But of course, this bot can be deployed on a website our website either. So I'm going to move over to our Power Virtual Agent now. The Power Virtual Agent sits in the bottom right-hand corner of the portal or website. Its appearance can be customized to fit any organization's branding. A bot can greet a customer in many ways. A bot can either initiate the conversation like it did just here with the customer, or the customer can wait patiently in the corner for the customer to be ready to ask for assistance. Bots are quite intelligent, and they can also recognize what page they are on. So they can be already equipped with certain topics based on the content that the user is using. The greetings that appear can be edited from the Power Virtual Agent Designer that we've seen earlier. So now the bot asks, what can it help us with today? This time, I will also inquire about Dynamics 365, but I will select the Talk to Agent button instead. Brilliant. So once again, message nodes are deployed. Would you like to learn more about the Dynamics 365 modules? Yes, we would. Dynamics for sales, yep. And now it's asking us, would we like to arrange a call back with an expert? So we'll say we will indeed, yep. We'll provide our name. We used Amy earlier, so I'll use it again. And the phone number. Brilliant. So now what we can see is a message node is returned, taking the dynamic content that we just entered. So thank you, Amy Black. And then they're asking, would they like to know if this is a new or existing implementation? It doesn't really matter, but we'll say it's a new implementation, why not? And now with the bot asks us whether we would like to arrange a callback like we've seen earlier, or talk to an agent now. We'll select talk to an agent now. So now that we've requested to talk to an agent, we're going to move over to Dynamics 365, and we're going to enter into our omnichannel for customer service application. It's just loading for a moment, and we should be up and running in no time.
Come on, yeah. You can see it there, it's starting to come up.
Yeah. So in a moment here, a chat widget will appear in the top right-hand corner, and we'll enter this interface, and we'll be able to engage in conversation with the live chat feed from Amy Black. So I'm going to open this now. So from this interface that I just opened, we can see a chat window. This chat dialog is retrieved from the customer's interaction with the Power Virtual Agent. At the top of the chat widget, we see customer sentiment. Built-in AI analyzes the conversation and can determine the customer satisfaction levels during the interaction. So if I go back to the customer portal and it said, I am unhappy. Oops, daisies. We can see that the sentiment value has moved to slightly negative. At the very bottom of the chat screen, we can see a series of buttons. So down here, we have quick replies, which are pre-programmed quick replies that might be able to answer the customer's questions and make the agent's life a little bit easier. We can consult with other live consultants or agents that might be able to help. We can transfer to these agents. We can also take notes on this conversation. And we also have the ability to access knowledge-based articles and link conversations to other existing conversations. Because we have the customer's details, Amy Black will appear, and we can retrieve the contact record from the common data service in Dynamics 365. Now we have a 360 view. We have a 360-degree view of our customer. We can see Amy Black. We can see our conversation history. We can see whether she has any recent case, which she doesn't at the moment. We can see her timeline, so we can see how our conversations, we can note that we had a conversation with Amy yesterday as well. And we can search an issue in case she has something. But if we would like to equip ourselves even further and be able to talk to Amy and give her the best knowledge that we can about the product, we can view up our knowledge-based article search. And here I can type in Dynamics 365 and see what materials we have available. And there we go. We have Dynamics 365 for sales. I now have a point of knowledge that I can list off and talk to the customer about the issue that they might have or the query that they might have.
Okay, John, if you're ready on that section, just have two questions that are probably related to what we're seeing, if you're ready to take them.
Yeah, no problem.
No worries. Okay, so first question is really talking about, do you always have to manually input the customer details? I believe you had to search for Amy Black. Is there any way for that to populate as the agent takes control over the conversation?
Yeah, so there's two ways you can target that. I do have the chatbot set up in a portal. So first things first, if a customer was to sign into the portal, yes, we'd be able to track that that's their session. The session belongs to the current portal user.
Yeah.
But alternatively, there are ways for us to get secure access to the common data service. We can request that a customer provides their email address and a password through the chatbot to give us that live authentication that the customer is authenticated. So we have that live feed of the customer's interaction, and we can track the customer to an additional record within Dynamics 365 through this authentication and sign-in procedure.
Okay. And
that can be done through the chatbot.
Okay, makes sense. And the second question, John, is I guess what they're asking is, how do we trigger the chat so that it nudges the customer? So I guess what you're trying to say there is if we don't have the chatbot icon available, if we can see a customer's been waiting for a while on a page or stuck or going back and forth, Is there any other triggers we can kind of do just to present the chatbot as an option?
So
support?
you can manage chatbot behavior from Power Virtual Agent interface, but also from the omni-channel administration settings. I won't go into it today because it's not complex, but it brings us on a diverging path. And so what happens is you have a series of checkboxes that you can tick, and you can determine how the bot behaves. Just like managing security roles within Dynamics 365, we can say that the bot rests or lays dormant for a minute and a half. And we can also say that we want the bot to interrupt the second the user goes on the page. We can determine these behaviors very, very easily with the click of a button.
Okay, cool. Okay, just checking questions. Yeah, no, that's clear. That hopefully, I mean, on that point, I'll just say, if you want to email me in directly, we can take that conversation off online and just show you further details on that. I particularly, just on that page you're on at the moment, John, all of the channels, that's pretty comprehensive. I know Microsoft obviously actively monitoring what are active messenger channels and similar, and building out APIs and similar. So a lot of variety there around channel choice, isn't there?
Indeed, there's a huge variety, and it is ever growing. If we can take what we've learned from how Power Automate has grown over the past couple of years, we can sort of get very positive and have great expectations for how Power Virtual Agents will grow as well.
Yes, and again, Power Automate is the ability to create workflows and a degree of automation, go and retrieve information. Awesome. Okay,
exactly.
cool.
Just like this, low code options. Yes. Brilliant. So I'm going to pop back to the portal very quickly just to show us how a customer can receive chat transcripts. So the two ways of doing this, we can simply download the chat transcript, and then the customer can open a record of their chat. Can you see this on my screen right now? So now a customer has a downloadable file of the chat that's just happened. This is great for data protection purposes, but also it just gives the customer a little bit of a documentation from their conversation if it helps them with an issue. We can also request that an email of the chat transcript is sent to us. We simply type it in our email, and boom, it's sent from the chat to this email that's been entered. So very, very good, very, very handy. So now I'm going to move on to how Power Virtual Agents can be published to help internal processes in an organization. So bots can be created and added to Microsoft Teams just as easy as they were added to this Dynamics 365 portal. So now I'm going to go back to the Power Virtual Agents interface. So when we have this Power Virtual Agents interface, we can have many, many bots. And these many, many bots can be equipped to handle many various topics. So now I'm going to enter into my home working support bot. And this is a bot that looks after internal processes for an organization. So I'm going to go into the topics page, and we're going to see that I once again have many topics. And I'm going to go into the test view and see the computer workstation ergonomic support. So this is basically going to ask, can you assess my home working station? A very topical a very topical conversation that would be happening quite often over the last few months for organizations when they're trying to set up their employees from home. So with the accelerating shift towards remote work around the world, there has been a huge surge in virtual communication and conversations between businesses and their employees. Increasingly, organizations are using bots embedded within Microsoft Teams to help their employees with common issues, whether it's a HR bot to help employees update their staff information. So whether they're updating staff information, querying payroll, or asking HR simple questions, this is all really hot and topical at the moment. So since Teams is inherently conversational, it's natural and intuitive for Teams users to chat with these virtual agent representatives. The bot can quickly resolve common issues, and when they can't help, they can easily pull in a live representative into Teams to chat or open a ticket as a result. Employees can communicate with these bots for information like opening times, desk availability, or even bookings. I've created a simple bot which I will show you how I have embedded into Teams that can be used to perform a home workstation evaluation. So I'm going to just open up Microsoft Teams, and I'll show you how I've embedded a bot within Teams to empower my teammates so they can query HR without loading this burden on an individual user. So we can see I have a team for home working support here, and I have apps. And here's my home working chatbot. And this is a predefined conversation that I've had already, but simply the bot asks how it can help. It can help with COVID-19 related queries, computer workstation ergonomics, and even office opening times. So the customer defines the trigger topic that the employee defines the topic that they would like to talk about. They want to discuss home working assessments. The bot then defines what this assessment is going to achieve. It selects an office item to assess. We've selected the office chair. And then it asks a series of questions about the chair's functionality, like can it be adjusted? Are your feet fully supported on the floor when you're seated? Does your chair provide support for your lower back, and so on? And then a message is returned. So because all of these answers equal to yes, our office chair is fit for purpose. And then we just finally wrap up the conversation. I'm going to go back to the Power Virtual Agents Topics Designer to show us how we've made a topic like this and how easy and intuitive it is. So once again, we have our trigger phrases and our blank message node. Then the bot asks a question of what area it would like to cover. We can easily add new options through this conversation path by selecting the new option here. We can then see that for each option that's detailed, we can return a message or a question based on these answers. So then we can define and save responses as answers once, and I'll show you why I've done this. So let's just imagine that I answered for the first question, I answered yes. For this, based on my answer, if I said no, a message node was returned, we move down to the next question, and this is going to gather answer 2. And this is done for when I can put conditions within my chatbot, so to return certain messages as a concluding message. So because all answers equal to yes, I'm returning that my chair is fit for purpose. But if my questions were answered yes, a mix between yes and no's, we might display an alternative message that we suggest getting a new office chair, and we can provide a link for the customer to enter and buy or claim a new chair from the office if needed. And then obviously the final end conversation node is triggered. What this does is this branching and conversation path technology allows us to create alternative endings or outcomes for a user based on their individual input. It makes the chatbot become that little bit more personal, combining personal outcomes as well as personal information like first names together, so the customer gets that unique experience from the bot as if they're talking to a human agent. And of course, if a human agent is required by the employee, this is absolutely possible, and we can request to be transferred to an agent. And this is when someone from HR, for example, can pick up and guide this conversation in the direction it needs to go. So now that we've seen this separate bot, I'm going to move back to an old bot, the bot that I've used for the main demo, and I'm going to show you the analytics that we have gathered. So Power Virtual Agents let you keep an eye on how your bots are performing, and the powerful metrics in AI-driven dashboards are used to do this. Multiple charts show you the trends and the usage of your bot's topics. These charts use AI to highlight the topics that have the greatest impact on your bot's performance. Within Power Virtual Agents, we can select the Analytics tab on the side navigation pane. So now we are brought to our Analytics hub. I'm on the summary page, and this gives us a broad overview of the bot's performance. It uses artificial intelligence technology to show you which topics are having the greatest impact on escalation rate, abandon rate, and resolution rate. You can see that along the bottom screen.
And again, look, these are probably the key KPIs that we would be looking at maturing. So resolution rate, always have a very, very close eye on that. Escalation rate, I guess that's probably a handover to an agent or a callback. Would you agree with that? Yeah. So again, you know, as we kind of move through a maturing deployment, we would expect resolution rate to go up, escalation rate to come down. Just one question came in there, John, it's probably from the previous screen. It's just a question of how easy is it to change the content?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'll jump back to that.
Right.
One moment. I'm just going to finish
Sorry.
this.
Yeah.
So while I'm on the dashboard, I can also show you the customer satisfaction page. And this just provides a detailed overview of the customer satisfaction. And I know this is a big area of topic for a lot of users. And I've seen something come in the chat recently about how we collect customer satisfaction information. And what we do here is we take all the KPIs that we've seen on the summary page. We look at whether the session was engaged, how it was resolved, whether it was abandoned, and the escalation rate. And these are all areas that go into the customer satisfaction rate. Also, when a customer requests to go through and talk to a live agent, you've seen how we take the sentiment value. This information is also combined to develop customer satisfaction. But the end of conversation surveys also help to derive an outcome for customer satisfaction based on the value or the star rating that we've seen at the end of a topic of conversation. This is how we understand the customer satisfaction, and that means how well the boss topic path guided the customer in the right direction.
Indeed.
Seamus, let's go back to your quick question of how easy it is to edit
I took you off flow there a little bit. Yes,
so no, that's absolutely fine. Oh, I'm going to go back into a topic now, for example, and we'll just edit maybe the opening message.
Okay.
So this is just what is Dynamics 365. It's a combination of a customer, a CRM, and an ERP solution. What if a customer doesn't know what CRM means? We could say it's a combination of a customer relationship management.
Yeah.
So all we have to do is simply type in what changes we would like to happen.
And I think
select save.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, this is probably one of the key demonstrations of what we mean by low code. So once we have that initial deployment, it's very easy to select what channels you want to push through. It's very easy to select what topics and what kind of a branching or guided interview, as I would call them, through that. And then likewise, a business user or a content owner could very simply go in and make changes to the content that's being provided back to the customer. And for me, I guess this is really empowering the business users to react to the content changes rather than, for example, have to go and create a change request back into IT and the kind of governance around that timeline. So I think that's probably the key message, what we mean, or Microsoft means around low code is empowering business users to take full ownership. Do you agree?
Exactly. And just to finalize, you've seen throughout the demo that I use dynamic content quite often. It's really, really easy to use. So basically, when I ask the user for their first name, I can save their response as a variable. And this is going into how low code this really is. So I've saved the response as a variable. And now when I'm creating questions or displaying messages on the screen, I can say, thank you, and put in the generic callback full name for the session. And this just shows you how simple it is to make these chatbots personal and dynamic, to make that customer experience really, really excellent.
Yeah, and it's real context as well there. Even if it was a handover back to the agent as well, you kind of see the personalization, which could be continued by the agent if need be.
Exactly.
Okay. John, unless there's anything else you need to cover off, I can confirm that all of the questions are answered. Is there anything else you want to cover? Because just conscious on time, probably we had said 45 minutes, 45 minutes. We're probably just nudging above that now.
No, actually, I think that we've covered everything. But please feel free to email us or get in contact with myself and Seamus for any questions that you might have relating to the power of virtual agents and how they might improve your internal and external business processes.
Brilliant. And look, John, thank you as always. That was really, really informative and interesting. And again, thank you to everybody who attended for asking questions. And we are a phone call or an email away if you need any further conversations or similar. So thanks, everybody. Keep well and keep safe.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.